this being a playlist. This is a booktube video. This is 2026, what I'm reading, what I'm still reading, and what I've read so far. We're in the middle of a snowstorm. My goal for 2026 was to read more international literature, and I did start off the year with a South African author, Olive Schreiner. But I guess she's like that George Eliot, because like they write, it's women that write under man's name, so this woman might be writing under the name of Ralph Iron. Anyway, it's this South African author, and the story is called South African Farm, or the story of a South African farm. It's from 1883, and it is about these orphans on a sheep farm. There's ostriches. I guess they did invent a sheep shearing machine, and the dude destroyed it. Like a sinister, like master of the farm. You know, he had a whip of a rhinoceros's hide. You know, it's just stuff you don't really read in American lit. So I'm not done with it yet because the narrator is really got an accent that is difficult on YouTube. I found it on Spotify. So I'm also reading Herman Melville, Marty, The Voyage Thither, you know, a sailing story about these people on an island, idols. I'm still in the middle of that. That's really long. I did finish Herman Melville, Bartleby the Scrivener, about these three clerks in an office, and these people had weird names: Nippers, Ginger Rot, something, and Turkey. I don't know how I feel about that book because they were let go at the end of that story. So we also are reading The Moonstone by Wilkie Collins. Now that is also another long one that I haven't finished yet. It's about a treasure, the palace of Seringapatam. It was a yellow diamond that was lost in 1848. You know, you have to wonder how some people live their lives, you know, because there's these Indian jugglers in there. You know, it's a family scandal. This gemstone that's went missing. It was like in an idol, like in a statue or something, and then it ended up in the handle of a dagger. So that's really interesting. It was like worth 20,000. I guess they said this gem had lunar influences. Somebody said it was cursed. It was seized by the officers. I'm also reading Bram Stoker. I don't know if I wrote that one down. I just read The Ska or something. Oh my God. I started Mystery of the Sea, but turned it off right now. I was a DNF because they started out with carrying a little coffin, and I just wasn't ready for that. I also DNF'd Sherlock Holmes. I'm still struggling with Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's books. Like, I don't know if it's because he writes about doctors and I really don't have any respect for doctors. Because I also sell a remedy out there that's not toxic. So I did DNF A Scandal in Bohemia, but it's short and I do want to get through it, you know. It was about Freemasonry Lodge. The Squaw, that was the Bram Stoker one. That's the one I read yesterday. It was really messed up. I did read T.S. Eliot Wasteland, was not impressed with that. It does say April is the cruelest month. Talks about traveling in Germany. And talks about a famous clairvoyant. Nymphs are in there. I mean, of course, we are in the middle of snowstorm. I did read Robert Frost, stopping by woods on a snowy evening. I did. Snowman by Wallace Stephen. I guess that was a poem I read too. Still in the middle of Thomas Hardy, Trumpet Major. It's like a love triangle set, in the backdrop of this Napoleonic Wars. There's a woman named Anne Garland and her three suitors, a sailor, a coward, and a trumpet major. It's kind of like a soap opera, really, but it's big and long, but sometimes you need that calming, not Les Miserables. Les Miserables was the best book of 2025, and that's like so exciting that sometimes you just want more boring books. I think Thomas Hardy's are. They're supposed to be funny, but I don't think I listened to them long enough at one given time to get it yet. Anyway, I'm also working on Oscar Wilde, House of Pomegranates. I'm really enjoying that. It's supposed to be like a fairy tale. It's a collection of short stories. I did reach out to my library, use my library card, and read like a 21st century book by the first, because of the copyrights, you can't really get a new book free on YouTube. So I was able to score one at the library. Bloomsbury Girls. Oh my God. Published in 2022. I loved it. Did I write her name down? Probably not. I'm sorry. Oh, yes, I did. Natalie Jenner. It's like the perfect beach read. It was like women working in a bookstore. So like it makes mentions of books that, they enjoyed. So, I enjoyed reading about them in the books and looking for the books and, it's set a long time ago. Yeah, it's written now, but it's set like way back in London. So during a time of, I guess, like women repression or something. I really, really enjoyed my first Canadian piece of literature, Roughing It in the Bush by Susan Moody. Talks about savages from Ireland. Cholera was depopulating Canada. It was quarantine. This was 1852. Another Wilkie Collins. I know I got The Moonstone started, but I also started Haunted Hotel, Mystery of Modern Venice. Again, I lose interest when it's about a doctor sometimes. And this one is also about a doctor, but it's interesting because I want to know. But sometimes I get upset because my friend's at the doctor's and she's being scammed over there. I did want to start James Fenimore Cooper, Deerslayer. Said something about New York being a savage state and a Dutch settlement coming to the rescue. Skin traders in a canoe, minks and woodchucks. Like, James Fenimore Cooper is like a descriptive tale. So I turned it off because I felt like it said something bad about the Iroquois. Now, there's a brand new playlist on this channel called The Iroquois Constitution, and like I really enjoyed that. So when James Fenimore Cooper had this American bastion, they wanted to scalp the Iroquois. I turned off Deerslayer. That's what I did. Fuck that. I'm going to turn it back on, though. You just got to be ready. I did enjoy Agatha Christie's Hercule Poirot's Christmas, but you can really only read, I think, one Agatha a year because, first of all, we already read a bunch of them when we were little, at least I did, and they're just outrageous explanations that you're never going to get. This one was an outrageous explanation, but, it was a bloody scene in front of a fireplace. It was a story about missing diamonds, too. It was a, family murder plot, kind of triggering, I guess, but I read just yesterday Herman Melville's The Lightning Rod Man. That was about a knock on the door of a salesman during a storm trying to sell a dude a lightning rod. I'm pretty sure that like there was a struggle and the lightning rod went like thrown like a javelin like at the dude at the end of that. That's a spoiler. Sorry. I mean, those Agatha Christie's, the mysteries, you know what I'm saying? I'm saying you can learn stuff, you know, like even sleuth slang, like sleuth slang, like sleuth stuff, you know, like who had the opportunity, who had the motive. But, you know, they twist it. They make you think it's one thing and it's really not. So he's, you know, a master storyteller. The poem that made me cry this year already is very short by Stephen Crane called War is Kind. And it just made me cry about the oil, you know, and the greed. I was in the military too, so that's just fucked up. The best book of 2026 I learned about from Katie at Books and Things. Oh my God. It was that Erewhon. Nowhere. The word nowhere, spell it backwards. Erewhon by Samuel Butler. It was the most eye-opening book of 2026 so far. My favorite French author, Guy de Maupassant, I read one of his little short stories called The False Gem about the Minister of the Interior. His name was Monsieur Latin. He had fallen in love with the daughter of a tax collector, but he found two faults with her. He didn't like that she wore all this bling, imitation gold, glass jewels, false pearls, and like cheesy rhinestones, not diamonds. And he didn't like to go to the opera with her, or to like the theater with her. And I guess one day she went to the theater, the opera, came home, coughed, and died. He was having trouble paying the bills without her, and he decided to sell some of these gems. He took it to the pawn shop. The workmanship was fine. They offered him a real lot of money, like 12 to 15,000 francs. He was astonished. He didn't believe it. He thought they were fake all this time, and didn't understand where she would have gotten these things. And then so he took it to another jeweler in town who offered him even more. It said he himself sold it to her for 20,000 francs and that he would buy it back for 18,000 francs. And the dude's like, sold, and I'm coming back with the rest of her gems. And I guess the guy walked away with like 400,000 francs and he quit his job. So I was just like, because you were wondering, where did she get them? He didn't know about it. She was telling everybody they were fake. He thought they were fake, but they were. I liked it. Just makes you think. Kidnapped. Reading that one. That's is that Robert Louis Stevenson? I also really enjoyed a new book from the library, Colson Whitehead's The Underground Railroad. They say it's not a true story, and like I didn't think it was true either, but it was like, to me, a stretch of the truth. Like when it was about slaves in Pennsylvania even, and it said when they cut out the guy's tongue. Well, like I personally didn't think that really happened, and it doesn't say that it did. It's a nonfiction book. A fiction book story. But I felt like, yeah, they didn't cut out his tongue, but he was gagged and silenced, So, slaves like can't make report, It's fucked up. I tried to read Anne Rand Anthem, that got a little too weird because there was no people's names, they were numbers, and I said I'm not ready for that one yet. Okay, so I think that is what I'm into for the first month of January. Now, my birthday is coming up in a couple days, January 31st. I really want to read like books from the 1940s and 50s, and you know, those are not free on YouTube. They're not on audiobook at the library, which I really need audiobook because I do these medical treatments for your health, and you know, you can't be touching your devices when you're covered up in spices and oil and stuff. So I am gonna try to get me a plan together where I can read these new authors, and they're scattered through all different publishers, so I have to see if I can find how to do this in one place with one monthly fee. So if you know how to read new books the best way, I guess it's going to depend on the author you want to read to. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section. I love you.